let's go to this deal next. And this is arguably the biggest one out of them all as far as the assets are concerned and the player going to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that's the Brandon Hagel trade that happened last Friday. So Hagel and 2 4th-round picks, one this year and one in 2024, going to the Tampa Bay Lightning, 2-time Stanley Cup champions, looking to win their 3rd in a row this year, going back to Chicago. 2 first-round picks in 2023 and 2024, along with 2 young forwards in Boris Kachuk and Taylor Radish. How about this whopper of a deal?
Yeah, whopper is right. And I love this deal. Like there's a lot of shit talking in the group chat when this one came up. But honestly, I like this. I'm going to give Tampa like a A- for this. I'll talk quickly on that later, but also an A+ to Chicago for it at the same time. Maybe an A because Brandon Hagel, that could have been a good rebuilding tool. But just to talk quickly on Tampa Bay, they just won 2 Stanley Cups. No one's going to give a shit about their next 8 years. All they're going to remind people of is 2 Stanley Cups. You know how they did it? Big deadline acquisitions, and they're going to try to do it again here. Kachuk and Radish, they aren't making the lineup. There's 92 games between the two of them. They're 24 and 23 years old, not really making this lineup anytime soon. So fine giving those back. You get 2 fourths back for them. And the 2 first-round picks are going to be like pick 25 and 28. Doesn't really matter. I was going to look up in the last 10 years how much points were scored in the last 5 picks of every draft. I still plan on doing that. Maybe it'll be a post, but it's not a lot, guys. These picks aren't as valuable as people think. And for a 30 goal scorer this year, who knows what he can do with Tampa next year at $1.5 million. When you're in a cap crunch, that's a great deal.
Rasmus Sandin drafted, I believe, 28th overall has something to say to you, Casey. He's not happy.
Dude, I briefly looked. I had 2 guys that kind of caught my eye initially. Yeah. Sandin, H. Thompson. So it's all good.
Yeah, that's right. Tage Thompson.
It's like they have 50 games played and 7 points.
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to say I've come around on this trade because I fully haven't. I'm going to give Tampa Bay a B- on this one, and I'm going to give Chicago a B+. And the reason I've kind of come closer to the middle than what I was when I first heard this trade, for me, Tampa was getting an F and Chicago was an A+. But the reason I've come to the middle was the one point that you've said, Case, that, no one's really going to care about these 2 picks. And even the one in 2024 scares me a bit, the first rounder for Tampa. But in 2 years, I don't think that's going to even be, middle of the pack. I think they're still going to be a powerhouse then. So really,
it's also top 10 protected.
That's right. I was more so thinking like a 15 because that's even way more valuable, if you look at 15th overall picks. But okay, so I'll go to Chicago. The reason it's an A for me, and I can't, or a B+ rather, and I can't give it an A or higher or anything, is because this team needs to pick a direction to go. And if you're getting this much for Brandon Hagel, why aren't you trading Kane? They didn't trade Kane. They didn't even listen to offers on Kane. Jonathan Taves is a guy who's pissed off, and he said it in the media multiple times. This team doesn't have a direction. Are you rebuilding? Are you retooling? What's going on? So for me, I would love to give Chicago a higher grade for this trade, but I can't because this trade just doesn't make sense for them because they haven't picked a direction. If they were totally rebuilding and committed, it's an A+ hands down because you get 2 firsts for a middle 6 player plus 2 prospects. So that's what I'll say about Chicago. For Tampa, this trade is good because they get better, right? And no one's going to say that Brandon Hagel is worth that much, but the reality is Boris Kachuk and Taylor Radish, like you said, Case, weren't getting into the lineup at the same time. It was one or the other. So now you improve by getting Hagel and you put one of those guys, or you put Hagel in exchange for one of those guys. So you immediately get better in your lineup.
Not to mention another trade they did later that we'll get to.
Exactly. So that's my grade for this trade. Let's move on.
Yeah, Hagel could certainly be this year's Blake Coleman. And important to note, guys, before we move on, Taylor Radish is reunited with his former Erie Otters teammates in Dylan Strome and Alex DeBrincat. So